Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. 98% of people are living their life on autopilot. This means that people are living the same day on repeat. Wake up at 8 a.m., drink the same coffee, take the same commute to work, deal with the same BS from your boss and coworkers just to come home, eat like crap, scroll, go to bed, and repeat it. Now I know 100% of people do not want to be living this life. I was in a similar situation. In 2024, I was addicted to smoking weed. I was at the peak of my entrepreneurial game, but I was a slave to my own impulses. I couldn't stop with the partying. I couldn't stop with the escapism, and I had this deep void in myself. I was a slave to an old identity I knew I needed to kill once and for all. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how you can use proven neuroscience methods through Dr. Joe Dispenza and ageless, timeless spiritual teachings to finally get rid of your old self and unlock the version of yourself you've always wanted to be. Now, we need to break down some fundamental core things, 3 key pieces of information that we're going to cover throughout this video so you can see the transformation you are looking for. Now, you need to realize that your thoughts, emotions, and actions are a memorized pattern, right? We think we're living life every single day, but it's an unconscious pattern. Now, how is this operating? The neuroscience underlying this core piece of information is the fact that your thoughts are taking immaterial energy and turning it into physical matter, right? So we are manifesting this old identity when we are thinking certain thoughts and feeling certain emotions. Now, how could this be? Your thoughts start as energetic potential. This is what Joe Dispenza alludes to in the quantum field, and we're going to get to there, how you can tap into infinite potential, but we need to have this core piece of understanding first. Your thoughts turn into a frequency that you're calling upon from whatever familiar thoughts you're used to, right? These thoughts then go to certain receptors in the body and create a chemical reaction. And as Joe Dispenza says, the pharmacy of chemicals in your body creates the feelings that we're used to. Now, the more we feel the anxiety, the more we feel the shame, the more we feel the guilt, the more we're going to think thoughts. So we are stuck on this unconscious loop. Now, the first step is awareness, right? To be unconscious is to be unaware of these patterns in our everyday life. So how do we become aware of them? We label them and we address them and we bring them to our conscious awareness like we are doing right now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you are really serious about using these principles to kill your old self, you want to overcome the old identity, let go of the old thoughts and emotions, and you want to step into a life using the mechanism of surrender, letting go, and detachment to unlock more peace and effortless freedom in this moment, using the timeless wisdom of the sages, click the first link in the description because I have guided meditations for you so you can start to experience what it's like to be in this present moment through using surrender and letting go. And you're going to find it by joining my Telegram channel where we've got 200 people learning to practice these principles every single day. All right, back to the video. Now you need to realize your body has become conditioned to these familiar emotions. Normally, when you are consciously living, you are making elevated decisions through your mind to set your body into motion. But because we become so addicted to this familiar experience, our body is actually running the show unconsciously now. So we need to figure out how to dissolve the emotional patterns in the body so we're no longer thinking negative thoughts, and we can start choosing through conscious action in this moment the direction we want to go in our everyday life. Now, we're going to use neuroscience to break down the fundamental pieces of information so you can have awareness of what's actually going on. Then I'm going to call on universal timeless principles from the sages like Buddha, Lao Tzu, Jesus. So you have a proper fundamental understanding of life in this experience because it's not just a material experience, and that's what Dr. Joe Dispenza alludes to, is that 99.9% of our experience is actually energy. The core shift that you need to understand is that this material world is actually all energetic. It's all resonant frequencies, right? A physical thing, this table right here, is actually just a dense frequency. Now, think about other things like love, joy, peace, and freedom, which is probably the state you want to rise into. These are higher frequencies. They do not hold a material form. They hold an energetic form that we experience as energy, right? Emotion, energy in motion. So if we are living a life of shame, guilt, fear, we're having a denser emotional experience. because those experiences are slow, arduous, painful, and rooted in suffering. Now, the higher states are joy, freedom, abundance. And these are the states that the sages were trying to guide us to. So we're going to use that wisdom to get there. But you need to understand the core shift on the fabric level of our reality that truly changed the game. And Joe Dispenza is the first one to start bridging science and spirituality. Not the first one, but the one to hit millions of people and start bringing this information to people. The reason he introduces you to the quantum model, right, the electron cloud, is because he wants to show you that nothing is actually set in stone. An outdated paradigm of reality is believing that life just is. It's a mechanistic view of the universe. It's like that old, outdated science project we used to do with the atom, with the protons and neutrons cycling around the nucleus. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the fabric of our experience on the electron cloud level is actually 99.9% energy, meaning the electron cloud is more no thing than it is something, right? It is not physical matter until we engage with something called the observer effect. The whole reason we need to understand this is because you are living in a cause and effect first reality. This is an outdated paradigm. Why is this so important? Because you think once you get the six-pack abs, once you get the big house, once you get the money, once you get the fast car, you're finally going to experience the peace, joy, and freedom you wanted. Well, Joe Dispenza says you need to become so present and so in love with this moment, regardless of what's going on, you don't even want those things anymore. Now, why would he say this? Because the quantum model is the idea that in this moment, life is energetically manifesting in the form of frequency. So if we're anxious, shameful, and in a state of guilt, that's the thing that's manifesting. So we need to go within our inner world to actually do the change, to actually do the work, and to actually see the transformation we are looking for. So I want you to make a promise to me before we go any further into this video. You got to let go of all the noise from the outer world. Put your phone down, unplug from social media, and be present with me, because the present moment is the only place you can experience transformation. Gotta let go of your desires for that girl to text you back. Let go of your desires to have the fancy Rolex, to have the $100,000 a month in business. Those are the things that are keeping you trapped to this cause and effect model. Because the cause and effect model is trying to change the 3D world. Well, I just told you, the 3D world is only 0.0001% of our experience. Because the physical matter is such a dense state of energy, it's not encapsulating the other 99.9% of energetic spiritual states that we go all the way up to the most spiritual experience that people like Jesus, Buddha, and Krishna had. So we're not going to try and be Jesus, Buddha, and Krishna, but we're going to try and take these timeless principles and figure out how to use them in everyday life, and that's what we're going to do. So let's cover it. What did we just talk about? One, your thoughts and emotions are patterns. That's the problem. And because you're unaware of them, you're living out the same Groundhog's Day on autopilot. Wake up, go to work, hate your life, sleep, wake up, go to work, hate your life, sleep, right? We don't want life to be like that. Life can be peaceful. I'm in Puerto Escondido, Mexico right now, and I'm surprised I have a shirt on because I live at the beach every day. I get to go to the gym, I get to experience peace, I get to read my books, I get to work on a business I'm passionate about. And it all started with this information for me, because I used to be $80,000 in debt, 40 pounds overweight. And I used to be a victim to the endless treadmill of entrepreneurial new revenue goals. And I had to free myself from that unconscious pattern, because that's what I was living out. I was in a state of scarcity, a state of fear, a state of lack, that I was going to lose my business at these high revenue months. And because I was trying to run away from that, I'd smoke weed, I'd drink, I'd party, I'd engage in escapism. And because my actions were reflecting what was manifesting on an energetic level in the form of my thoughts and emotions, I became a victim to this identity that was holding me back. So we need to figure out how we're going to kill that. Now, we need to realize that we are stuck in the past. We are living out past patterns in the present moment. So we're living out this old identity that you know is a past version of yourself, but you just can't seem to figure out why you're still stuck with it. And that's what we're going to talk about. This is how to kill your old self, because we need to let go of it entirely to experience the transformation we're looking for. Now, your body is anchored in the past. Your mind, the more continuously you think certain thoughts, is an artifact. Think about what an artifact is from ancient Rome. An old piece of pottery or an old set of armor. It's something we use to label a period in the past. Your mind, through thinking continuous thoughts, is creating these neural pathways in your brain. Think about it like skiing down fresh snow. The more consistently you take a certain path down the mountain, the more deep and programmatic and predictable the path is going to be in the form of thoughts. The more consistently you think these thoughts, the more consistently you're going to produce that chemical experience in the form of emotions in your body. The more consistently we produce the emotional experience, the more our body thinks that's a state of homeostasis. So your body actually thinks your everyday life and your old pattern is normal. It thinks it's something that it needs to maintain because you're telling it, hey, this is what I want to be every day. So body, you better create this, because as soon as we try and be different, you enter fight or flight. Even though you try and make positive decisions for yourself, your body still perceives it as a threat. Now, change feels uncomfortable because it is unfamiliar. This is one of the biggest things you need to understand. Your body is going to experience heightened states of stress when you try and take it out of what it's used to. So the moment you step out of your old identity, your body's going to signal this discomfort. And it's going to try and release more thoughts and release more emotions to bring you back into this moment to recreate the experience that you do not want. Now, this is the turning point. This is how we step into a true state of transformation and start to experience the present moment, where we have a clean slate and we're no longer governed by these outdated patterns and predictable realities. You have to begin to see that your identity is learned. It's not fixed. And we can look at this in multiple ways, right? It's learned because we're thinking the same thoughts and emotions. It's learned because it's the only thing we're used to, and we don't have any sense or stack of evidence that it is otherwise, right? And because it's the thing we see every day, and because we're so identified with the material world in the form of 3D, the same people, places, and things, we're like, there's no way I could ever be different. This is all I'm used to. So we need to take it into the inner world. We need to start changing the inner experience you have every day, because we're not going to be able to change the 3D world just yet. The 3D world is a byproduct of the inner shift, right? This is a spiritual concept, the law of mentalism. The universe is all mind. Any change you want has to start in this moment in the form of an immaterial goal, an immaterial intention, an immaterial download from a higher state of consciousness, right? So knowing this, your personality is your personal reality. How you think, act, and feel is a predictable set of programs that we've learned, and it's what you're used to. So this is where we have to kill our old self. We kill our old self by introducing a spiritual concept that we find in meditation, right? This is why Joe Dispenza guides us through meditations. Because the goal is to become aware of these patterns, aware of how we think the same thoughts, aware of how we feel the same emotions, aware of how we take the same actions. But here's the beautiful thing, is you don't have to go become some saint to see this type of transformation. You begin rewiring your brain through neuroplasticity by the act of actually undoing, of non-doing. So as soon as a familiar thought comes up or a familiar emotion comes up, if you just observe it and let it naturally take its course and do not take action on it, right? For me, this would have been back in my downtown penthouse in San Diego. It'd be 11:30 and I'd be like, all right, I need to smoke a little weed. I feel anxious, I feel uncomfortable. I need to smoke weed, right? My body's trying to set me into a predictable pattern. I'd slow down, stop, and breathe and try and come back into this moment where I experience peace. And when you can surrender and let go of the things that are holding on to this familiar identity, the thoughts and emotions, you're gonna realize you have a clean slate in the now. So you can be like, hey, I'm gonna make a decision not to smoke this weed. And I'm just gonna go to bed, I'm gonna wake up, and I'm gonna make a vote for who I wanna be in this now. But if I was so entrenched and plugged into the matrix of the 3D world, where I was believing the thoughts were me and I was believing the emotions were me, then I was for sure gonna collapse that action into motion and smoke that weed. Now that's not what we want to do. You need to recognize that your current self cannot create your new future. The level of consciousness you have, or the level of awareness you have now, is the thing that is associated with your old identity. So we need to upgrade our operating system entirely. Now, how do we do this? If you keep thinking, acting, and feeling the same way, you'll keep producing the same results. A new life requires a new identity. not through more effort, but in a different state of being. Now, this is how we can unlock a life that is more effortless, more peaceful, and less stressful, because we can do simple things every day that have high ROI, right? Meditation has super high ROI because you become aware of your thoughts, you become aware of your emotions, and you're no longer going to be governed by the same familiar patterns. But the only way you do this is through realizing that the source is internal. What you've been seeking externally, peace, clarity, and fulfillment, was never going to be an achievement or another outcome. It was never going to come on the other side of more money, more watches, more cars, more validation through social media followers. Peace, clarity, and fulfillment exists as a state that we unlock in this moment. And it's a natural state that is found in stillness. It is found in presence. Because as soon as we let go of those attachments, we realize those attachments were the thing giving us the experience we didn't want. And because we stopped wanting and we stopped needing, we became whole in this moment. And it's the moment you stop chasing and you start turning inwards to this awareness and presence and observation that you truly set free. Now, this is the transformational mechanism. We've built up to the point where you have a foundational understanding of true change, all right? Now let's talk about what mechanism do you need to be doing every day to experience peace, clarity, and fulfillment. You have to shift from control to observation, because control is a mechanism of the ego. Instead of trying to fix things or force things to change, you have to step back and observe your thoughts. This creates separation between you and the old patterns. Think about what a reaction is. You have this familiar experience, this familiar emotion, this familiar thought, and you react to it, to reaction, to partake in a similar familiar action, to react. So what we need to do is we need to create a gap between the impulse and trigger and the action we take. Now, what happens in between an impulse and an action when we observe and we create space? We're literally creating space to observe it, to make a conscious decision to where we're no longer collapsing a reaction in emotion, and we can respond accordingly to our conscious desires and intentions. The thoughts will try and pull you back. The old patterns will arise. The emotions will try and reattach you to the past. That's what your body's trying to do. It's a survival mechanism. But instead of resisting or feeding them, you simply notice them. And it is the noticing that creates a state of observation, where you are separate from your old identity. This is how we kill it. We observe it. You are observing old thoughts and emotions. And because you are aware of it, you are now separate. You are in this new present moment that Joe Dispenza talks about. Through observation, through unconditioned awareness, right? These are conditions. The same thoughts, the same emotions, the same people, places, and things. These are the conditions that you're using to validate your identity. When we observe them, we're aware of the conditions, and now we have an unconditioned state of awareness in this present moment. Let's call it the clean slate protocol. Observation gives you a clean slate to make decisions when you're aware of your old patterns. Through this observation, you return to the present moment as a reset point, the clean slate protocol. The present moment is the only place not defined by your past. When you fully arrive here without resistance, without needing anything to change, you access a clean slate. From this state, new choices become available because you're not experiencing the emotional pull or the chaos in your mind of the old patterns. You're observing them and be like, oh my God, I just became aware of the fact that I almost went and bought that joint. I became aware of the fact that I almost went and got junk food instead of going home and eating something clean. Now, from this, we create a new way of being. You begin to generate a state from within that is no longer dependent upon external people, places, and things. Instead of waiting for life to change your emotions, you intentionally create feelings like peace, gratitude, and clarity. This shift from reacting to life to creating your experience is how we go from a state of survival to a state of creation, like Dispenza talks about. Now, how do we unlock this? Like I described at the beginning, energy is a spectrum, right? On the lower level frequencies, we're engaged with the world of matter. We believe the thoughts to be our identity. We experience the emotions and think they're us. We see the same people, places, and things, and we're like, oh, that's the old me. I can't run away from that because I'm still hanging out with the same bums at the same bar. No, through observation, we naturally rise. Because you're holding on to your old identity, I want you to think about it like a beach ball. You're sitting in the water and you're using force, resistance, and control to hold on to this beach ball. When you let go of the thoughts and emotions and behaviors that once governed you, that beach ball naturally shoots up because your natural state is pure awareness, pure consciousness. This is what the quantum field is. The quantum field is energetic potential, and this energy carries information. Think about it, inform. We're trying to take a new potential as energy and turn it to something that holds form, right? This is what manifestation is. Think about it. A thought is a thought formation. We are formulating a thought that is now in our brain in the form of a frequency that our brain's processing. We think that thought of gratitude, that frequency is now manifesting as a new chemical in the body. So we start to experience something of gratitude. Now here's the secret that I had to learn. Just because we're gonna let go of our old self and we're gonna kill our old self doesn't mean we're gonna go, I'm gonna be a billionaire, I'm gonna make millions of dollars, and I'm gonna be the most famous person alive, right? Because that's another trap. That's a trap on the other side of things. The goal is to realize that your state you're after is presence. When you become aware of your old self and you experience the peace and freedom when you surrender and you're like, it's like a breath of fresh air. When you realize that you are not governed by your old pattern and unconscious living, you become conscious. That is the state you are after. You are not after the state that you're writing down in your 20 different affirmations to, I am rich and money chases me. I am attractive and beautiful and everyone I love is chasing me. Like, no, that's just another attachment that's gonna validate you to the same type of suffering. And I can tell you from experience, I've been $80,000 in debt, 40 pounds overweight, addicted to smoking weed. I've also ran a business doing $267,000 a month, living in my downtown apartment, having enough money to just leave a $5,000 a month apartment and go spend thousands of dollars to live in Mexico. Both of those things are traps. I'm telling you here and now that I've been on both sides of the coin. The only state you're after is the state of peace found in the present moment. That is what Dispenza means when he says, your goal is to just be wholeheartedly happy and present as you are. Because when you love this moment and you love your life as it is, you don't need to change anything. And that is a state when you truly accept reality as it is, when you truly make peace with how things are. You fall naturally into the moment. You unlock a state of wholeness. This state of wholeness is a state of unity. What happens when you are unified with life? It's like the Dr. Strange quote. If you want to unlock the higher spiritual states and experience the powers that the universe and God has to offer, you cannot beat that river into submission through control and force of the ego. You must submit to the river and then you can use its powers as your own. But we need to understand what these traits are. The traits are presence. Like, in this moment is everything you need. Think about it. Life is happening right now. The sun is out, the birds are chirping, the air is breezing on my skin. Life is happening right here and right now. And if I'm not here and now, it's because I'm trying to chase a version of myself in the future through more money, more success, and more validation, or I'm running away from old patterns, fears, and traumas. You see how both of those things pull you from the present moment? That is the greatest threat to the experience you want to have. But think about it, when you let go of both of those, you come back to this present moment, here and now, and you have a clean slate. And in this moment, instead of being afraid to make videos, I'm sitting here with the camera in front of me and I'm going to post it on YouTube. I'm not worried about how many views I'm going to get tomorrow. I'm not worried about how many views I got yesterday. I'm just engaging in the act in this moment and I'm being the person I want to be. That is the secret of the sages. Now you install a new identity through repetition. And the repetition is going to be in the form of observation, becoming more aware of these patterns. You're going to become aware of your old patterns that were governing your fear, trauma, and judgments of the past. You're going to become aware of the patterns that you held in the form of seeking validation in money, clout, and success. Those are both sides of the coin. Those are both the dualities that your mind will feed on. The mind is dual. It's got two hemispheres of the brain. By consistently thinking differently and choosing differently and feeling differently, you begin to wire a new version of yourself. But like I said, we don't have to do anything too crazy because it's merely the act of undoing that wires something new. Now, when you come to an unknown, non-familiar moment, we want to do simple practices to anchor ourselves. Things that bring us to the here and now. I like to do gratitude every morning. I write 5 things I'm grateful for. I I write 5 things that I'm transmutating, right? So I take 5 things that might be perceived as negative and I write them and spin them into something positive because I want to wire my brain to turn every opportunity into a positive. And then I have a section where I say way of being, right? Who am I being? Instead of trying to change material things, I'm like, okay, what are the things I'm doing every day? What identity am I holding? I told myself I want to eat clean, but I went out and got tacos last night in Mexico. That's not aligned with the state of being I want. But I did schedule 10 Instagram reels, and I want to be a consistent creator. So that's aligned with the way of being that I do want. And I'm doing this all through awareness, right? I'm writing down things to be aware of. I'm observing the things I'm doing. And through the act of observation, things naturally change because you're holding them in your consciousness. Your energy, focus, and attention is the only currency you have. You give energy to things by focusing on them. You focus on things by directing your attention. If you're unconsciously giving your attention to these old patterns, then you're going to be recreating that old loop. So we need to consciously become aware of the things we don't want to be doing and consciously be aware of how we can make decisions in the now to experience what we want to experience. Now, here's how we act from this embodied state of peace and presence where we have a clean slate. Your actions are going to naturally become aligned and not forced because your decisions are no longer driven by fear, urgency, or pressure. They're going to arise naturally from this clarity that you found in observation and presence. Because you're aware that eating unhealthy, smoking weed, doom scrolling, and consuming negative things for yourself is validating that old state, you're now aware of it. And you're aware that you have the opportunity to make decisions in the now. And when you make decisions in the now, you experience the change you're looking for. You do what needs to be done without internal resistance. And the only reason you had resistance was because you were unaware of the unconscious patterns and how they were controlling your life. But now that you can disidentify with them through observation, you're no longer judging yourself. You're just like, hey, this is an old pattern. This is something I want to grow from. It's literally just energetic signals in my thoughts and chemicals in my body. It's not me. I'm just part of this present moment in the form of awareness. Now, life begins to organize itself around this state. Because you're going to make conscious decisions, you're going to say no to people that cause you stress. You're going to say no to eating behaviors that make you feel insecure. You're going to say no to media that tears away your peace. Because you have this inner state, because you found this inner peace in the moment, everything's going to align with that the more consistently you seek it out. You notice different opportunities, you respond differently to challenges, and you create different outcomes without the same level of control and effort that your ego once tried to exercise. Consistency is going to turn this state into an identity. So the only thing you need to focus on, and what I'm trying to really nail home, is that in the present moment, you just need to focus on awareness. Don't future cast things, don't judge the past. You just got to be here now and you got to be present. We do that through letting go of these old patterns, right? This is not a one-time realization. It's a daily practice, and each moment is an opportunity to either return to the old self or reinforce the new one. But it's only happening in the present moment. So you're gonna let that old pattern of the past create itself in this moment, or you're gonna consciously create the version of yourself you wanna be in the here and now, in the present, because it's the only thing we have. Over time, what was once intentional becomes who you are. It becomes natural. It's just the state you make by default. So let's wrap this up and let's put a bow on it. Your past is a pattern. It's not a prison. That pattern is thoughts and emotions. Because you're so used to the thoughts and emotions, those take form in the world in the form of actions and behaviors. Now your emotions are memorized. Your body is just seeking homeostasis. It's trying to create the familiar state, and it's not permanent. Now, awareness is what separates you from the old self. Because in this present moment, it's the only place where change can happen. Peace is not something you find. It's something you practice. That's the secret. You no longer have to strive for it. It's something that you can choose in the now. And it's through practices like this. Now, it's the identity that you repeat through choosing peace in this moment that is going to create your reality, because then your personality becomes your personal reality. So ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video and you want to actually learn how to put these principles into practice, click the first link in the description. It's a Telegram group. We've got 200 people in there. And every day I'm trying to help you understand how surrender, letting go, and detachment is the true mechanism of transformation you need to let go of this old version of yourself. If that's something you want to engage in, click the first link and join. I send messages every day. It's a free community. We just hang out and we grow and we evolve. This is the transformational secrets of the stages, and this is how you can kill your old self using Dispenza's neuroscience methods. I got nothing but love and peace for you, and I'll see you in the next one. We out.